Final round, Ratchet & Clank, Tools of Destructions and A Crack in Time versus Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, and Among Thieves. Okay, I know what you're thinking. What the fuck? Guess what? Both of these series have plenty of things in common, and I'm going to use those to judge which series is better. So here are the rules in this final round. I'm going to give off 5 separate categories that both of these series have in common to judge which series is better. And the categories are graphics, weapons, platforming, creativity, and story. The first series that wins a total of 3 points is not only the winner of the final round, but declares the clear victor of this competition. So without further ado, let's begin the final round. Number 1. Graphics. The Ratchet & Clank Future Series graphics is really high quality good. Traveling into space, you can see how realistic the asteroids are coming in after you, and so much more that are in the level where Pixar films, like Wall-E, is in, but not by much. But the Uncharted series is so close to realism as if it's almost like watching a movie. From the trees, explosion, and everything else, it has the best graphics that the gaming industry has seen up this far. Point 1 for Uncharted. Number 2. The weapons. Is the Uncharted series really trying to be creative by weapons? Not all of them are memorable because they're using weapons from real life. Nobody can ever beat the Ratchet & Clank series selection of weapons because they are kick-ass! Well, maybe except Metroid. But anyway, they are so kick-ass that you can still evolve your weapons into more powerful weapons, and in the Future series, they introduce modding your weapons to make your weapons into different types of weapons. So hands down, Ratchet & Clank deserves point 1. Next up, the platforming. Ratchet & Clank Future Series has this old school style of platforming that follows the path each level you select. You can use your gadgets to overcome the obstacles, get to long range platforms, hanging on ledges, and many other platforms to jump into. Once you start playing A Crack in Time, the platforming becomes really creative and clever. So does Uncharted, but unlike Ratchet & Clank, Uncharted has platforming that has climbing on walls, ledges, and jump into areas that is unbelievable and thrilling. Even though that this isn't a platformer, it still amazes me on how I could just leap to areas that I have never seen in a game. To be honest, the Ratchet & Clank Future Series jumping mechanics is not really evolved, but for that reason alone, the Uncharted series earns their second point. Next, the creativity. Other than the kick-ass weapons, to be honest, the Ratchet & Clank Future Series has been doing the same formula from all the Ratchet & Clank video games that's ever been made. But in each new game they release, it feels like a different experience. I thought the Future Series was going to do the same thing until A Crack in Time made a lot of innovations by adding Clank to stop time and making recordings of himself, and took out selecting levels and made it into a GTA-style space exploration that you can select any planet to land on and capture zonies and collectibles other than finishing the story. The new features that were put in A Crack in Time were the biggest improvements that I've seen in the series. On the other hand, Uncharted series did have really creative puzzles and areas you can just jump into, but it still feels like a cross between Gears and Tomb Raider. If you played all the games from both of these series, you have to give props to Ratchet & Clank Future Series because they have made a lot of creative stuff. That's why Ratchet & Clank Future wins point number 2. And look at that, we have a tie. So let's make a judgment on who had the better story. Ratchet & Clank Future, being that it's a new series, Insomniac took the story into a serious level. They made finding Ratchet search for his race called the Lombax, who are extinct. As well, Clank finds his creator from the Zoni and learns how to control time itself and keep it from the hands of evil. There are plenty of moments that are incredibly hilarious and very well written that I believe that it deserves an Academy Award if it were a movie. They brought back old characters that deserves to be in the Future series and made new ones that were just as lovable as the previous Ratchet & Clank games. Uncharted series, as realistic as it is more or less of a goose chase of who can find the lost treasure. Sure, the voice acting and the motion movement made this a blockbuster quality game, but the graphics does not tell the story. This is something that we have already seen in other memorable movies like Indiana Jones movies. Both Ratchet & Clank Future and Uncharted series had really good quality voice acting, but I have to go with Ratchet & Clank voice acting because it captivated me and feeling like I'm watching a Pixar movie. The Uncharted series did not feel as a whole because once you beat the game, the sequel had nothing to do with the follow-up from the prequel. Hell, you don't even have to play Drake's Fortune first before playing Among Thieves because it's just a new adventure, and I doubt that Uncharted 3 is going to follow up from the prequels because it's going to be a new true treasure to find. The Ratchet & Clank series has come a long way, and the Future series made an entire trilogy. This trilogy is all one story, and you can't miss one game if you're going to play the sequel before the prequel. Most of all, they've given us a proper ending, which I'm not going to spoil, that satisfied me as a Ratchet & Clank fan. And that was something that the Jak series could not do. When you compare Uncharted to Ratchet & Clank, Ratchet & Clank Future is an underrated game. Look at it, the Ratchet & Clank series was ending the best way possible, and I haven't seen one professional reviewer that gave a fuck about it because they were sucking a huge cock on Uncharted. Seriously, Uncharted may be a high quality game, but everybody was overhyping the game because it was a PS3 exclusive, and they used that game to make the PS3 to sell PS3 Slims. The only thing that made the Uncharted series story worth a damn is the unpredictability, but once you already know the whole story, to me, I just can't look back at this game and replay it because I already know how the story will go. It was epic gameplay, but not epic story. Seriously, the story has been done before. Overall, Ratchet & Clank had a much better story. Overall, I would choose any Ratchet & Clank Future game over any Uncharted and Resistance game. Seriously, all the Ratchet & Clank games have more replayability than Uncharted because Uncharted forces you to follow a path like a movie, and Ratchet & Clank Future gave us a full experience into doing whatever you want, like collecting bolts, upgrading weapons, huge exploration, collections, enemies to blow up, epic boss fights, and so much that the Uncharted series does not have. I can't stress out on how much I prefer the Ratchet & Clank over Uncharted, and Naughty Dog could have easily won if they kept the Jak and Daxter series on the PS3. Seriously, what the hell were you guys thinking stopping the Jak and Daxter series just like that? High Impact's games sucked badly when they made The Lost Frontier. I really wanted to see Jak 4 on the PS3, I really do, but instead we got a crossover between Gears of War and Tomb Raider. Naughty Dog, I know you have much more creativity up your sleeve, but Insomniac did a really great job for keeping the Ratchet & Clank series and the Resistance series at the same time. That proved to me that these guys deserved to be the better company over Naughty Dog. And for that reason alone, I have to put Ratchet & Clank, A Crack in Time, and Tools of Destructions not only the winner of the final round, but to make Insomniac Games the official winner of Naughty Dog versus Insomniac Games. It's done. It wasn't easy, but it's done. I know that some of you guys are really upset over my decision, but I've done my very best to be very fair in this competition. I'll give you my reasons why I put Insomniac as the winner of this competition. 1. If you played every one of their games from beginning to end, chances are that you will like more of Insomniac's library over Naughty Dog's. Seriously, who the hell is going to enjoy Way of the Warrior over Disruptor? And I finally got a chance to play Keith the Thief, and it sucked ass. 2. In my opinion, Insomniac has made more revolutionary innovations than Naughty Dog did. For Spyro, Insomniac made the sequel more improved by adding swimming underwater, which is the best swimming mechanics in any video game, period. Crash Bandicoot didn't have any innovations to the series and just keeps following the path. And for the Ratchet & Clank, the sequel added the nanotech leveling systems to the weapons, which made the replay value in all the Ratchet & Clank games. It's more innovative than making Dark Jak and edgy. 3. Insomniac worked 2 series at the same time, Resistance and the Ratchet & Clank Future. Naughty Dog, they only worked on Uncharted and for some odd reason stopped working on the Jak and Daxter series. Seriously, for Insomniac doing the Ratchet & Clank Future series and Naughty Dog stopped doing the Jak and Daxter series was a really big mistake over this competition of Naughty Dog versus Insomniac Games. Seeing the story in Jak 3 left me to know that there's going to be a proper Jak 4 on the PS3, but guess what? Naughty Dog failed to do that. Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin, the founders of Naughty Dog, for some odd reason left the company, and thus Naughty Dog abandoned the Jak series. Rumor has it that Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin are coming back to Naughty Dog, and hopefully we're going to see Jak 4 in the light of day, or a platformer game that's better than Uncharted. Don't get me wrong, Uncharted was great, but when you know the story and know the ending, going back and playing the game is not as exciting as playing it the first time when you don't know the story. Just recently, Insomniac has now been bought by EA and now is going multi-plat, but the Resistance and the Ratchet & Clank series are still Sony exclusives. But let's not forget that Naughty Dog was once bought by EA in the early 90s, but somehow got out of it. So EA, don't fuck this company like you did with Pandemic. Overall, Ted Price, the CEO of Insomniac, knew what he was doing and kept the Ratchet & Clank series going, plus his new series that he wanted to do. So congratulations, Insomniac, you are the winner of Naughty Dog vs. Insomniac Games. And for everyone watching, thank you very much for watching this Versus series. Please comment on what you think of this Versus series or a video response. I'm glad it's finally over. Thank you all for watching, and take care, and happy gaming to you all. And stay tuned for more of Gexup's reviews coming soon.